Good morning. Sabah al-Khair, Alan wa Salan, bonjour et bonne journée. My name is Ted Picone, and on behalf of the Brookings Institution, our president, Strobe Talbot, and our delegation of 14 scholars from Washington and our Brookings Doha Center, welcome to this 11th annual U.S. Islamic World Forum. We are deeply honored this morning by the presence and patronage of His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, the Emir of Qatar. Thank you for being here. This year, we mark the beginning of a new decade for the Forum, which coincides with a new era of American engagement in the Islamic world. After a decade of large-scale American military involvement in the broader Middle East, the U.S. government is turning the page toward a more modest and more balanced approach to the region. In his recent remarks at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, President Obama acknowledged the limits of military force as a tool of U.S. power. He said U.S. military action cannot be the only or even primary component of our leadership in every instance. Just because we have the best hammer does not mean that every problem is a nail. He also reaffirmed the United States call for collective action through diplomacy and development to preserve international order and defend human dignity, two defining elements of America's bipartisan foreign policy. Making this smart power strategy work will require the United States to collaborate not only with states like Qatar, which is yet again showing the world it can play a critical role in resolving disputes. It also demands active dialogue with a wide range of people committed to peaceful change. The U.S. Islamic World Forum stands out as one of the few venues where this kind of multi-level conversation can happen. Where else can you find this unique blend of government officials, academics, activists, musicians, journalists, and business people of all faiths and no faith coming together to solve the urgent problems facing Muslim communities around the world? The forum was not always such a laboratory for problem solving. Initially created to help the U.S. government and Muslims better understand each other after the tragedy of September 11th, the forum evolved because its participants wanted a space for making policy recommendations on everything from water security to blasphemy laws. And so the forum's working groups were born. To mark its new decade of activity, this forum is evolving again. In addition to the working groups, there is now an action group that each year will launch a new initiative to address challenges in Muslim-majority countries. We created the action group because we saw so many people who first met at the forum go on and form lasting partnerships to change the world. We didn't want to leave such fortuitous meetings to chance. So from now on, we will convene at least one group of activists, artists, entrepreneurs, governments, and foundations to launch a new initiative each year. The action group this year is attempting to revive the cultural heart of northern Mali, Timbuktu, after its rhythms were silenced by an attack by armed rebels. The group will deliberate on how to return Timbuktu's world-famous music festival to the city, as well as preserves its rich heritage of Islamic manuscripts. We are honored that the President of Mali, Ibrahim Keita, could join us this year as we launch this important initiative. The violent extremists of northern Mali and their disdain for the culture of its inhabitants is just one manifestation of a broader movement in North Africa and the Middle East to narrowly define the religious identity of its people. In one way or another, all of our working groups and panels today and tomorrow will focus on this topic. But religion can be a means of inclusion, which is why we've made Islam and inclusion the theme of this year's conference. And what greater embodiment of that theme than the country of Albania, which avoided the ruinous religious wars that tore apart its neighbors in the 1990s. We are honored that the President of Albania, Bujar Nishani, is here to address us today. As the example of Albania demonstrates, conflict over religion is not exclusive or inherent to Muslim-majority countries. In the United States and in Europe, which pride themselves on religious tolerance, Muslims have faced bigotry and discrimination because of their religious beliefs. But rather than hollow out their heritage, many have chosen to look within the tradition to find new ways of belonging, which is the subject of the working group on the Transatlantic Dialogue on Muslim Communities in Europe and North America. Of course, religion is not the only or even the best lens through which to view conflicts among Muslims. Economic dynamics, political structure, resource scarcity, and ethnic grievance are often helpful guides to explaining those conflicts. And even conflicts framed in religious terms require both religious and non-religious solutions. This will be explored by the working group on countering violent extremism in Pakistan. But because so many of the parties to those conflicts define their differences in religious terms, we have to understand those terms to either challenge them or work within their confines for positive change. This latter approach is the one adopted by another of the forum working groups this year, which will attempt to identify Islamic principles for transitional justice after violent conflict ends. I would like to close my remarks on new beginnings by extending special thanks again to the Emir, His Highness Sheikh Tamim, and the Prime Minister, His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Nasser. Like the forum itself, both are charting a new path for Qatar based on the rich legacy of its past. We've been delighted to partner with the government of Qatar for the past decade, and we look forward with great anticipation to the decade ahead. We're especially grateful for the friendship of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid Atiyah, the Foreign Minister of the State of Qatar, who is our partner at every step of our work together. Let me now introduce His Excellency, Prime Minister and Minister of the Interior, Sheikh Abdullah bin Nasser bin Khalifa Al Thani. The Prime Minister is central to Qatar's vision of modernization and development as it moves forward on its plans for 2030. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency the Prime Minister.
In the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful, Your Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, may God protect you, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you. I would like first to salute you and to welcome you to Doha to attend this U.S. Islamic World Forum, and this reflects the themes that the forum is going to tackle locally, regionally, and internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is witnessing a very precocious and very sensitive era because of the challenges that we see, especially issues regarding peace and security that we face in many regions. And so as to challenge these, we have to establish dialogue and justice and to support joint action. And this dialogue should not be directed to proximity of views, but rather to be a full image of cooperation and manifestation of facing such challenges, such as those that threaten the security and peace of everywhere in the world, and also to combat poverty. And in this framework, relations between the USA and the Islamic countries should not be focused only on joint and mutual interest, but also to serve humanity in general, so as to remove and to combat tension and to have peaceful world everywhere. And there's no doubt that the world developments and regional developments over the last years have proved that the ideas called by this forum have been correct, and this has caused us to have new establishment for solving international issues. Ladies and gentlemen, Islam is a religion that calls for peaceful existence everywhere, and also it guarantees this good existence in some verses from the Holy Quran, because Islam is for all humanity. And reality that we cannot ignore is that there is good cooperation at various political and economical levels between the USA and the Islamic world, and this is because of the good relations between both parties, through which we can contribute to building world peace. And in this context, achieving Arab-Israeli peace is one of the pillars of the strategies between us and the USA. And the stringent policies of the Israelis in expanding in settlements and aggression against the Aqsa Mosque, and also the partial solutions are unacceptable. That all led to the failure of the negotiations and peace negotiations. And such negotiations, or the stalemate of negotiations, should not cause us to be disappointed. And then the USA is requested actually to exert more efforts to achieve just and lasting peace according to principles and the two-state solution, because this is the only solution actually to this issue. I mean, the establishment and creation of 1967 border Palestinian state. Ladies and gentlemen, the Syrian crisis is actually affecting us all in the region, and this means that we should have synergy of efforts to look regionally and internationally to stop the refugee influx. And this crisis actually shows that the international community is unable to find peaceful resolution. So this international community, and especially the Security Council, has to do its best to keep the security and safety of the Syrian people and the region in general. And we look forward to seeing more efforts from the United States in this regard. To conclude, I'm sure that the top and high level and profile of the participants in this forum will enrich our dialogue to achieve our mutual interest. Wishing you the best in your deliberations and discussions in this U.S. Islamic World Forum, and wish you a happy stay in Qatar and in Doha in particular. Peace be upon you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Bujar Nishani, President of the Republic of Albania.
Your Highness, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, Your Highness, Prime Minister Abdullah bin Nasser bin Khalifa Al Thani, Honorable Mr. William McCants, distinguished heads of delegations, distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen. I feel immensely privileged and at the same time happy to participate in the U.S. Islamic World Forum and to have the honor in addressing this distinguished audience. Please allow me to thank from the outset His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani for the pleasant invitation and generous welcome offered to me and to the accompanying delegation. Seizing this opportunity, I'd like also to convey the fully deserved congratulations to the State of Qatar, to the Sabah Center for Middle East Policy at Brookings Doha Center for their noble mission aiming and establishing solid bridges of communication and cooperation between Islamic world and the United States of America and beyond. Dear friends, we Albanians are proud of the fact of living in a multi-religious society predominated by a Muslim majority, where the members of all the faiths cohabitate for centuries in full peace and harmony. The verse penned by Vaso Pasha, one of the most acclaimed ideologists and poets of Albanian nation Renaissance, Albanians religious is Albanianism, became the motto of the Albanian people's fight for freedom and national awakening. It was an ideological manifesto of this movement that brought about the country's independence and the call for unity in the fight against the efforts to divide the nation that was trying to be reborn and which cherished as a tradition the religious coexistence according to religion's lines. The Muslims, Eastern Orthodox, and Roman Catholic religious beliefs, which coexist in harmony, have become for us a priceless identifying value, representing an example from which other developed nations can learn as well. In the case of Albania, the three religions are connected to the nation through its very own existence. The Albanian model of religions tolerance, coexistence, and harmony serves also as a solid pillar in the Albanian state structure. The highest-ranking leaders of all levels of Albanian institutions and administration have traditionally and without any prejudice originated from all the religious faiths by carefully and wisely preserving the balances of our society. Today, this model is found embodied and expressed in all the cells of the Albanian society. It has been continuously strengthened by resisting to the country's isolation and banning of religion during the communist regime, or to different influences that were introduced and came from abroad after we opened to the world. We celebrate together the religious holidays and joyous events while overcoming alongside one another the bitterness and sadness in life. However, we never took this reality for granted, but remained attentive towards the dangers that threaten it The great Albanian writer Ismail Kadare has shaped and formulated this sensitivity by saying that the religious harmony is majestic as a structure. It is so fragile. We are not permitted any irresponsible behavior, any forgetfulness, any carefulness in looking after and well keep this structure. The Albanian society and state, although the latter one it's a laic state, have been carefully to ensure that politics would always and clearly be separated from religion, so it would be to use for political scopes. They have demonstrated care to educate, especially the youngsters, to respect the religious boundaries and freedom to the other, so the people would have the right perception about different religions, so they can learn that all religions promote benevolence and just and respectful actions toward the other religions. Albanians did not fall in the trap of religious colorings regarding the most recent tragedy during the 1990s in the Balkans. The violent conflicts that accompanied the non-consensual disintegration of former Yugoslavia were the consequences of the Serbian chauvinist policy and of the old interests in the region waving. Religious motives were just efforts made to cover the hegemonic character of a war for ethical clean territories accompanied by terrifying ethnic cleanings. They also serve to mobilize the fanatics and hence to add fuel to the war flames. The Republic of Albania was one of the first countries to recognize Macedonia after its cessation from the trunk of former Yugoslavia. The Albanians of Macedonia, belonging to Muslim religion, joined their efforts with Eastern Orthodox Macedonians to build the young and democratic country. The Albanians of Kosovo shaped the peaceful resistance as a pragmatic approach to preserve their human being from the wave of the Serbian genocide and to achieve independence from Belgrade. After the proclamation of independence by Kosovo in 2008, Albanians, the majority, are cooperating with the Serbs and other ethnic minorities to build the democratic state of Kosovo based on the most advanced standards of the human and minorities' rights preservation and respect. Although the graves of the persons who are missing from the Serbian state-inflicted violence are not known yet, and its wounds are still fresh, Pristina agreed to talk with Belgrade about the normalizing of the relations between Kosovo and Serbia for the sake of the future of two countries and entire the region as well. The Albanians scattered around a few states, including here those in the Preševo Valley in South Serbia and Montenegro, are supporting without hesitation the democratic and Euro integration processes in the countries where they live. They are this way the main investors of the peace and the new image of the Balkans. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States ambassador to Albania during 1933, Herman Bernstein, in his reports to Washington D.C. wrote that there is no trace of any discrimination against the Jews in Albania because Albania happens to be one of the rare lands in Europe today where religious prejudice and hate do not exist, even though Albanians themselves are divided in three faiths. The accurate observation of this American diplomat, who himself was a Jewish origin, was proven just and right by time without delay. During the dark period of the Holocaust, Shoah, not only did Albania safeguard and protected all the Jews who live in its territory, but is also served as a sheltering transit country to all the Jews who were running away from other countries trying to escape from the Holocaust guillotine. Albanians did not hand over any Jew within the territory of Albania. After Italy capitulated in 1943, during the Second World War, the Albanians sheltered until the war was over all the Italian soldiers who once were members of an occupying army, all those who knocked in the doors of Albanian families attempting to flee from Nazi persecution. This standard behavior is based on the Albanian Code of Honor, BESA, which is a genetic part of the Albanian culture and behavior inherited and passed on throughout the centuries from generation to generation. BESA means to keep the promise and the given word of honor. In practice, it means to take care of someone in need or in trouble, to offer and provide hospitality. Distinguished participants, Charles Telford Erickson, a missionary, diplomat, and distinguished American personality who lived in Albania from 1908 to 1939, stated in 1922 that America is almost as dear as their motherland, and upon whom no other country has such a hold in their imagination and affection. This feeling was natural when, after the veto casted by the United States President Thomas Woodrow Wilson in the Paris Peace Conference by giving this way the independence back to Albania. In 1939, when Albania lost its independence after the occupation by Italy and fleeing of King Zog, which was followed by communists coming into power for 52 years in a row, no haven't one American or Albanian diplomat ever set foot neither to Albania nor to the United States. For 45 years, the contacts between Albania and the United States were entirely interrupted. Trying and making efforts to erect this cult, Enver Hoxha and his communist regime attempted to strike the American cult in the Albanian soul by launching a systematic brainwashing campaign. However, Albanians never stopped loving the United States. They always believed in the American economy's supremacy, military potential, democratic spirit, political willingness, diplomatic capacity, and leadership capacity in the battle of the democratic community aiming to achieve victory over the communist tyranny. The United States of America stood always by and close to us during the difficult but indispensable transition for our country from a single political system into the multi-partisan one, from centralized economy into the free market one, from the national security with bunkers into an international security regime, from the state of oppression into the rule of law, from the most isolated country into a NATO member, and aspiring to join the European Union. The Albanian-American relations marked their culmination with the visit paid by President George Walker Bush on June 10, 2007. The partnership is tasted more and becomes more important at times of crisis and uncertain situations. The intensive diplomatic engagement under the United States leadership, followed by 2 NATO military interventions under the leadership of the United States, put an end to the violence in Bosnia-Herzegovina and just a few years later in Kosovo as well. The independence of Kosovo bears the stamp of American support all over it. Honorable friends, ladies and gentlemen, the Albanian-American relations are based on strong and friendly human relations that transcend the time frame of more than a century. They are multidimensional, rich and extremely dynamic, producing a decisive impact on Albania, on the American policy in the Balkans, on the sustainable security and stability in the region and beyond it. Our countries and peoples share common values and principles. They are in the same common from defining peace, freedom and democracy, everywhere and every time. That is why our strategic alliance and partnership are solid and untouchable in front by any challenge. The Albanian model of religions coexistence and of the acceptance of the other who might be different inspired us in our vision for a peaceful world in which races, religions, cultures, and all the people cohabitate in harmony. The United States of America must be undoubtedly at the front of our common efforts for the world of tomorrow. This country represents the great model of a mixed, free democratic, multi-ethnical, multi-religious, multicultural, and multi-racist society. The composition of American society enables the United States as well having the advantage to know better and to easily create preferable ties to different countries, peoples, and cultures in the world. In this spirit, I wish good luck and fruitful sessions to this forum and to all those who have enabled its realization. I wish successes in their historical mission, convicted that we all together can make the difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. May I now welcome to the podium His Excellency Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, President of the Republic of Mali.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Altesse et cher
Your Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar. Your Excellency, Prime Minister and Minister of Interior Sheikh Abdullah bin Khalifa bin Nasser Al Thani.
Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, President, Prime Minister of Albania, heads of delegations, prime ministers, ladies and gentlemen, dear all, allow me first to express my best thanks to His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, for this invitation that he has sent to me personally to attend this forum, U.S. Islamic World Forum this year. I was not surprised by that because I know the generosity of His Highness Sheikh Tamim. His Highness respects me a lot and I have a good friendship with him. I would like to thank him for that also. I would like also to thank His Highness Sheikh Tamim for the good taste that he has showed and all the love he has received me with when I arrived in Doha. This is actually a manifestation of the good ethics and morals of Qatar, especially the behavior of His Highness. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lots of challenges in a changing world, and U.S. Islamic World Forum has known how to keep that pace and also to keep the efforts exerted by all so as to have proximity among countries and so as to have or to cause such peoples acquainted to each other. The U.S. Islamic World Forum in Doha has known how to preserve the best objectives and things, and especially, I mean, the wish to build and to have a just world. Depending on the various analyses of all components and things that help us in getting sure of the development that we want to have. This meeting today actually is a full success for dialogue, interfaith dialogue, and intercultural dialogue, and also tolerance and security and solidarity, and all of that is in favor of the world development for our young people. It's very much important to work together and to go on with these efforts so as to have a peaceful and just world and to live together with dignity, and this is the main objective that we want to achieve. Every people to respect other peoples and to apply justice and to combat poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a changing world, as I've said, and this humanity is very much concerned with this actually, and especially security, which is threatened more than ever. And many wars these days are filling the world and are scattered everywhere almost. And this is an escalating situation. There's no country in the world in a safe place away from this war or these conflicts and this danger. We have a good opportunity here to find solutions through which we can contribute to deterring those people, especially helping countries that need our support economically, such as we have in Mali. In Mali, we suffer from economics and also from extremism and terrorism. We are fighting anarchism and terrorism, as I've said. Let's remember that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that the real Muslim is that who does not harm other people. The non-tolerance feeds terrorism, as you know, and this is against the Islamic morals and ethics. And in this regard, allow me to remind you of the philosopher Count. Justice is to respect others and others to respect you, and this guarantees human dignity regardless of the circumstances that you are living in. Also, to create circumstances for fighting and combating terrorism is a challenge that we have to face these days so as to promote for happiness and justice and security and safety. And we have to be real also and pragmatic in this point. So we are all invited to be away from our differences so as to meet in fighting these terrorizing actions, and this has to be done on a world scale, and it's very much important at this moment. This is very much vital actually for us all. This means that democracy imposes upon us to move and to act actually. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in much need of peace and security, but the coast of Africa, where my country belongs, is in need of security and peace. And also, in 2012, our country was divided into two parts or factions. There is a group or groups of terrorists who claim that they are Muslims, but actually they are just criminals. They wanted to strike upon our unity. We are among the oldest Muslim countries in Africa, and Islam in Mali was there, has been there since 1045, around 1,000 years ago. Until now, Islam has always been there, and Arabs, Muslims have come to us there all that time. So our land is an old land actually for Islam, and Mali for centuries has been a Muslim country. We are not a new converters to Islam. We have long history of Islam, and what they say that Islam is weak in Mali is untrue. Timbuktu is the mother of civilizations. Timbuktu, the Malian city, has one of the biggest Islamic libraries. We are proud of that library. It was about to actually on the verge of being distorted and bent by those criminals. Those criminals 2 years ago wanted to remove and to wipe out every Islamic principle from Mali, but we faced them, and I tell you that that was a crime against Timbuktu. Those criminals have worked in the coast region and also bent down many places, and they settled in mountains, and also they exploited the good reception of people there, the good people, so as to fight us, to divide us. And in parallel to that, and unfortunately, they wanted to split our path, and also they caused us to have thousands and tens of thousands of victims and refugees. And there were also lots of hostages, children, old men and women without defense. Incidents proved that those criminals were not Muslims actually, and they do not have actually Islamic feeling. They were just criminals aiming at dividing Mali without any conscience. Their intention was to split us and to have our or to make our country a center or a safe haven for criminals, depending on terrorism and on trafficking and drugs with various types, promoting drugs among the youth and children. And this is against Islam, as you know. We have faced those dangers that are irrelevant to Islam. They just wanted actually to buy the country with drugs and with money. All places that they were active in were places for the poor and for the hinterland or the remote places that happened in our country in Mali. But now, today, and tomorrow, they also have tried to go to the northern part of Africa and some other places in Africa. And very soon we will eradicate them totally. But we have to be cautious because they may come to the Gulf here. So be careful here. And also, we have noted that in America there are some people who were brought up in Mali and who visited and lived in America, but now they are back in Mali and they took our people hostages in their behavior. Muslims actually should not promote hatred or differences and should not harm others. In these two last years, Mali, my country, Mali, has found itself facing these criminal movements and terrorists and also drug traffickers who conceal themselves or hide behind Islam. And they do what we actually don't consider as Islamic, especially in drug trafficking. We stress that we are in an all-out war against those criminals. We are a country or a state. We want to be a point or a hub for cultures in Mali, in Timbuktu. All the time we have been Muslims, and now our country is in danger. Ladies and gentlemen, the land of Islam, Mali, is in danger. It will be all the time Muslim. Those criminals have caused many problems, and also they have caused our children to follow bad habits sometimes. So in 2012, 2 years ago, that new type of terrorism tried to contain our youth, and that's why we stood against them seriously and strongly with Muslim hearts and with good belief also. We are the real Muslims, and you are here also. Some of you are real Muslims, and we denounce such acts. We are in the foot of those poor people. We want to help all our neighbors and those who need us. Ladies and gentlemen, in combating such danger and in preserving our dignity and in respect of to our generations, we know that the international community is totally standing by us because it knows the meaning of danger that was about to sweep us in Africa. I would like to thank all those who have helped us, Muslims and non-Muslims. And I want to remind you that the Security Council in the resolution 2100 has decided to help Mali in fighting terrorism and to help us also. The intervention of France was very much important and helped us in facing those terrorists. But those terrorists actually are not over yet, so we have to go on combating them. I would like to tell you here that situation in Mali is becoming better and better, but we will go on with our efforts. I would like to thank the international community for its help, and you know that. In July and August last year, we organized elections, and such elections were actually full of integrity, and there was a provisional president and then parliament in November and December in Mali. And now we are building a state against war, a state with peace and Islam. And we have achieved good victory. We should keep our eye all the time looking at the past, at present, and also at future. We want to create good, creative society in our country. We have much confidence actually in our people, and we are totally confident that our country will overcome all these difficulties and hard times and will go back again to its real enlightenment and promotion for peace, and our country will all the time be going to knowledge, happiness, and eradication of eradication of terrorism in the northern part of Mali. And we will try to facilitate everything so as to achieve all these objectives. So our eyes are directed towards Timbuktu in the north of Mali, and our objective is to find the best means through which we can eradicate poverty in Mali and in Somalia also. In Ouagadougou, we signed an agreement in 2013 according to which the government gives its full trust in parties, political parties, and we released also some a good number of prisoners, and also I assigned a representative who is specialized in conducting dialogues, to have dialogues among all parties through dialogue, not through fighting. We have started to remove the impact of war, especially the war over the last 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, our region in Africa is witnessing an unsecured time. We don't have many people living there, and living circumstances and conditions are very much poor actually. Mali has Mali is more than 1 million kilometers square in area, and we believe that the comprehensive peace is the only solution for us and for our crises. And all efforts and assistance will help us exit these hard times. And we salute and greet the program of the United Nations for the Mali coast, and I invite all the Muslim world and the civil society also to help us in that. Normally, people look for happiness and also for avoiding poverty and hard times. And actually, the international context these days has split among people, and this is sometimes because of ethnicities and religion. So, if we have proximity among peoples and to disregard these splits, we will live happily. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have to keep the next generations away from this heritage of split and division. And this can be done through solving the issues that we are witnessing these days. So let's join hands in creating and having a community that has good hope, actually, and this will help us and secure good life for the generations to come. We will meet in August with Mr. Obama to talk about that and about peace in general. One of former presidents of Mali tried to cross the Atlantic. His name was Brokary II, or the second, and some Russian writers wrote about him actually. That means that from the very beginning we wanted to join each other. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to our distinguished speakers this morning. It was an excellent start to help guide us for our discussions in the coming day or two. Please join me in having some coffee and tea for the next 15 minutes, then we will return to this room for our next session. Thank you very much.